Welcome as we look at number 4 in our series going through the Gospel of Mark. This one's entitled simply Parables. Of course, when we talk about parables, we're really talking about stories, illustrations. And I'd like to begin with a quote from Brian McLaren. He says this, put it in the notes for this time. Jesus was short on sermons, long on conversations, short on answers, long on questions, short on abstraction and propositions, long on stories and parables, short on telling you what to think, long on challenging you to think for yourself. I do like that. That does, for me, sum up what Jesus was trying to do. He was trying to get people to think, and the parables that he told, those stories that seemingly are so innocent, are ways to get through into the mind and to remind people about what the really significant things in life are all about. We have here in the material for this time, Mark chapter 4, also other material there, but let's concentrate on that particular study. Mark 4 is mainly about the sower. We called it the parable of the sower. And of course, it's not really about the sower either. It's about the different kinds of soil into which the seed falls and the responses of those soils, as it were, those different locations to the seed. You remember, some fall on the path, get eaten up. Some fall on stony ground and don't really grow up well. Some are choked out by the thorns, but some do develop and produce a great harvest. Using that illustration, Jesus helps us to see what we are to be in terms of responding to this gospel seed, as it were. That's our goal, to be open to the seed so that it can grow under the direction of God, and that in this way there will be a very positive result. That's what Jesus is pointing towards. Go back and read that in Mark chapter 4. It's a very familiar story to us, but that shouldn't blind us to the fact that this was something that people really did need to think about. The disciples come and say, what did you mean when you talked about this parable, this illustration? And Jesus says, if you can't get that, how will you understand the other parables, the other stories, the other illustrations that I give? This is a basic one. This is one that you should get straight away. And I feel for Jesus in that situation. Here you have his closest friends, his disciples, and they don't even get the basic message of the sower. Now, of course, if we were there, that probably would have been the same thing for us. We'd have been saying, well, I didn't really get that. What did you really mean? Of course, as we've had 2,000 years to think about it, we can kind of see what this is all about and what Jesus was really trying to say in our response to what he was presenting, in response to God's word, the seed, in response to the offer of salvation, even to be productive, not to let things choke out the word, not to allow stony ground to be where we put it so that the plant doesn't grow upright, not to allow the birds to eat the seed before it even has a chance to germinate. You can see that Jesus was using an illustration that everybody had experience of, whether they had done that themselves, sowed seed, or they had seen other people doing it. In fact, every time somebody did that again, sowing seed onto the ground, I'm sure they were saying to themselves, I remember what Jesus said about this, and I'm thinking about this, and I want to be like that rich, fertile soil so that it can grow up in my life, God's seed, and be something very special in terms of a productive harvest for him. So let's think about Jesus and all those many parables that he taught, understanding that he had one primary point to make in each of them.